Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another Dressing Room 8 live conversation. Super excited to have a guest. As you see, Nijaah Howard, she is an author. She does a lot, actually. So before I even try to announce and introduce this queen, please introduce yourself. Tell everyone at Dressing Room 8 what you do and why you're just freaking amazing.
Oh my goodness, Natasha. First of all, thank you for having me on Dressing Room 8. I love your platform. Everything about you is just super amazing. I'm always supporting you, watching you, reading your books. So thank you for choosing me as one of the wonderful authors to be on Dressing Room 8. So I'm Nijaah Howard. I also call myself Coach Mo, the single mom's coach. And the reason why I decided to call myself the single mom's coach is because I wrote this amazing book for single mothers who are raising sons alone. And part of doing that is really giving single mothers the hope and the inspiration and the healing and the ability to really be able to find within themselves that they can raise their sons to be successful, productive, amazing, whole individuals, even if a father is not in the home.
Mm, absolutely. I love it. And so the book came out when?
So it came out this year, mid this year. So I'm super excited. I'm still pushing it out there, still doing a lot of my virtual tours and virtual book tours. So I'm super excited. I do a lot of my lives, so I'm still pushing it out there. I got a lot of women organization groups that are supporting me, even male groups with young men who are purchasing for their mothers so that they can build a closer relationship between the mother and son. So it's been a real successful event.
Beautiful. Okay, so again, say the title of the book and where can people get it?
So it's Raising John's Boy, and you can purchase it on my website, Amazon, anywhere books are sold, but on my website, www.nijaahhoward.com, or anywhere books are sold.
Okay. And what inspired you to write the book? You talked about being a single mom and what that narrative is. Talk to us a little bit about what was the driving force? Like what made you say, you know what, I have to write a book, and give people kind of a synopsis of what the key takeaways will be from the book.
Sure. Well, I have to say, I have such a colorful background in history. I don't think I share this often, but about a week ago when we were going through 9/11, that was a very poignant time for my son and I both, because I was one of the head chefs at Windows in the World, Tower 1 in Trade Center. And at that time, I was on maternity leave. And my son's father was home with our son, but he was in his own home. And it just so happens that on that day, my son was crying for me so much so that he didn't go into work. So we survived. So it was an amazing ride for us. That was a very trying time, very scary. But in the midst of all of that, I thought that was going to be a point where we were going to be closer together, where in fact it actually brought us further apart. So 9/11 is a very tough time for me personally. And so in that time frame, I was really trying to get my life together. I was really scared, going through the whole depression and anxiety and being fearful of being in New York. I kid you not, Natasha. It was so much at that time. When I decided to come back home, I thought that I was, going to be happily ever after. It just so happens my son's father showed up at my door with a friend with a bouquet of flowers. And I thought he wanted to get back with me. It just so happens they were flowers to pretty much introduce me to the court system. So I spent well over a decade in court. My son was 4 years old when I started, and he was I think nearly 16 years old when I finally completed court. And so when I tell you I have gone through the emotional, the mental, the physical, the financial, the sexual, the substance abuse, so much I have gone through that there isn't no real experience that I can't relate to when it comes to single mothers. And so I wrote this book because I wanted other mothers to know that even in the midst of the storms and the hurricanes and the tornadoes, you can still come out on top. You don't have to have anger and bitterness and unforgiveness. And this is the reason why my son and I became so successful, because we don't have those things. We don't harbor any self-esteem issues. We don't have any self-efficacy issues where we don't feel like we're able to accomplish. But these are processes that took time. And so because it takes time, I want to help other mothers, especially urban mothers like myself, to really help their sons become self-sufficient, independent young men who are one day going to be productive fathers and husbands, men who they themselves wish they had one day.
So when you were going through all these trials and tribulations for, it sounds like over 10 years of trying to raise your son, deal with the legality of what it means to break up with your son's father, and what would you say was like your guiding light to kind of see yourself through all of that?
Oh my God, I would not be here today if it wasn't for my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I am here today because as a spiritual sister, he guided me. He was the one who kept instilling in me. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible is Philippians 4:13. And it states that all things, not some things, all things through Christ Jesus will strengthen, through him will strengthen us. And so I took that to the bank. And I knew that every time I walked into a courtroom, every time I seen him, being manipulative or controlling or being mean to me or something to that effect, I knew that God was with me. So I never, ever gave up hope. And I always kept a strong support system around me. I never was alone. I sought out people. I kept a smile on my face. I kept a good energy, a good attitude, so that people wanted to be around me. I kept good energy so people wanted to support me in my journey. As a single mom, you need support. Sometimes you need someone to hold the baby just so you can have a moment of peace and quiet. But that can't happen if you're walking around with a very angry attitude or a very mean face, or or no one could touch your son. It's one of the greatest gifts that I was given was the ability to have such a warm disposition. And because of that, I have engulfed in such a beautiful multitude of support around my son and I.
Yes, absolutely. So now when it comes to COVID-19, right, and single mothers trying to raise their children through this global pandemic, what great advice do you have for how they can try to navigate what's going on? Because it seems like it's levels of complexities that most of us probably haven't seen up until now.
Absolutely. I would say during this time, this is the opportune time to really get to know your son. Really get to hone into who he is as an individual, not who you want him to be, who he thinks he wants to be. Get to know his favorite color, get to know his favorite food, spend quality time with him, play a game, get involved, into what he likes to do, but also invite him into your world. If you're a writer, have him come and write with you. Let him know who you are as a mom as well. So during this time, let's not look at it as a bad time. Let's take advantage of this time and really get to know one another and get to know our sons, and let our sons get to know who we are as well.
Absolutely. And I love that advice. I definitely think that there's a disconnect between parents and children, especially when it's different genders, because sometimes you might feel like, how do I relate to this person who has a different type of lifestyle? So what were things that you tried to do to connect on a deeper level with your son?
Well, for one, I'm a big advocate for trying to abolish the negative, antiquated statement that only a man can raise a man. I'm very passionate about getting that out of the way. If we can, stop putting limits on our mothers and our sons, then so much further that we can do. And in the African American and Latino community, in our homes, women are over 60% head of household. So with that information, that means that we have to provide our mothers with the resources, the strategies, the tools, the skills of how to raise really successful men. And that's one of the great things about raising John's boy, is that this is not just a how-to guide, but it's also a healing tool. It's also something to help you to, transform your mindset from what you think you know to actually what you need to know. Because see, one of the things is that as a mom, one of the things that sets me a little bit different is that my son's grown now. So I was able to navigate through all of those different channels that we go through. And sometimes I hear moms, when they say, a lot of moms, they say, well, you know, kids don't come with an instruction manual. And you know what? You're right. They don't come with an instruction manual. But we do have books like Raising John's Boy. We do have support systems like, you know, Single Moms Raising Sons 123 on Facebook, where you could reach out and really seek out support. You know, there are mothers who's been there, who's done it, and seek out that support system to really help you navigate the ins and outs of raising your son.
I love that. And when it comes to raising your son, what were some of the greatest fears that you overcame in that journey?
I think one of the greatest fear is that I learned how to have a voice. When I was in that process, I was such a young, naive, loving, and just caring young lady, which is fine. But in this world, sometimes you know, people gotta teach you, you know, and you teach people how to treat you. And I had to learn to get my back. I had to learn that I am worthy. I am somebody. I am this young boy's mother, and I mother him. That means that I have to be his attorney. I have to be his doctor. I have to be, you know, the head honcho, you know. And so I had to learn my voice. I had to learn how to come out of that, you know, that little cute, timid sweetness, and really bring out the beast in order to raise my son to be the man that he needs to be.
I love that. Absolutely. And, you know, to speak to kind of, I love when you said you wanted to break the narrative that like women can't raise strong boys or strong men. Why, like, where do you think that comes from? And like, what are things that we can do as a society, and even within our community as African Americans, do to try to break down that myth? Because I agree that it's something that is stifling, and it's also like you have to be careful with the words you say because they have power in your life. And if we continue to say that narrative, then we're going to always have a breakdown in our culture and in our community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think at this stage of the game, one of the greatest things that we could do to help minimize this myth, and I think a lot of it came from just having this machismo, you know, very, very male oriented society that we come from. And so women were constantly striving to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized, to be respected as leaders of the household, who are not just laying down making babies and don't have anything of a brain to contribute to whatever. So we have to stand up and get rid of those myths. And part of that is understanding that just because you see a single mother does not mean that she's miserable and that she's detriment. You know, let's not assume that, but let's also offer support, you know, and let's let our mothers know that you can do it too. What makes you different? Because see, if we don't teach our sons that we are enough, then they are not going to respect us the way they need to respect us. So it's very important that you let your children know that, yes, dad is not in the home. And yes, I understand there's a void there, but I want you to understand that I'm in the home, and everything that I'm doing needs to be respected and recognized as well. And when we establish that level of respect with our sons, they hold us to a different level and a different accountability, a different level.
I love that. And yeah, like focusing on even that just mindset trick of like, it's super easy to focus on things you don't have, but why not celebrate what you do have, what's standing right in front of you? That support system is not something that should be ignored nor thought of as less, because the person, at least you have someone there in front of you. So I do want to know, did your son read the book?
Oh, absolutely. Not only did he read it, and it's so of course it wasn't by choice. I think it was something that I made him do. so not only did he read it, but he had to contribute to it as well, because I wanted young boys who are growing up in a single parent household, I wanted them to see what it looks like from another young man's perspective, right? And some of the things he talked about was about the financial challenges of, you know, not getting all the sneakers he wanted, or the haircuts, you know, the latest haircuts. And yes, it's okay, but these are some of the challenges that, believe it or not, those challenges is what shapes you to be who you are. That means that if you didn't get what you want, that means you have to work hard to go get what you want. And
Yep.
so have to instill that it's okay not to have, for your children not to have everything. And I talk a lot about that in the book as well. We can't give our children everything, because if you do, you're only hindering them. You want them to work for something, and then part of working for it is not giving them everything that they want, and that they need. You have to give, you let them, teach them how to earn it, how to work for it.
Very powerful stuff there. And I think that that is probably rings true now more than ever, given how many parents are feeling very stifled financially because the pandemic has altered all of our lives, and this Christmas might look a little bit different. But I love that you switched it, right? Instead of saying that there's a lack or a deficit, but it's more, this is an opportunity for you to understand the power of working for things, and that by not getting everything, it gives you this path of saying, you know what, this is something to look forward for in the future. So I love that. Okay, so now, in addition to the great work that you're doing with this book, again, say the title and where people can get it.
Raising John's Boy. You can go to my website, www.nijaahhoward.com, 2 A's and 1 H.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So you also have another thing that you're working on, right? What tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my God, this right here is amazing, Natasha. First of all, everyone needs to know that I am such a passion for the growth and development of African American, Latino, and other young men of color. And so this amazing new magazine that I have coming out is called Thoughts Magazine. It's specifically for ethnic men of color. It's like the Essence magazine for men of color.
Okay.
And it is really amazing. It's very informative. And what it does is it's really teaching the how-tos. It's guiding. It's got sexy men, sexy women in it. But at the same time, it's providing very good information to help level you up. You know, it's really providing the who, what, when, where, why, and how. You know, it's not all about, just talking about sex and cars. It's talking about things you need to know to make you better as a person, as a human being, both professionally.
I love it. So say the name of the magazine, and when will people be able to get the first issue?
So it's called Thoughts Magazine, and you can go to our website. It's still under construction, but it's going to be thoughtsny.com, and it's going to be linked to my website, so people have an opportunity to get on it. And the issue will be the fall winter issue should be out very, very soon. So you got to stay pierced to my Instagrams. You got to stay pierced to reaching out to me so you can be the first to get all the information.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time because I know you're busy doing a lot, but I guess some last words of wisdom that if a mother was listening to this right now and she was feeling overwhelmed by COVID, overwhelmed by not maybe feeling enough as a mother, or just like, what do I do next? What would you say to her?
Wow, there's so many things I want to say to my moms. I love talking to my moms. I want my mothers to really reach out to me for support. But one of the things I would say is, build that relationship with your son. Take this time to really get to know him, because at the end of the day, as you are a mom, I don't want you to raise him looking through the rearview mirror, because when you look through the rearview mirror, you're going to crash. I want you to raise your son looking straight ahead, straight forward. Raise him to be the husband, the father, the friend that you yourself wish that you had, because life is a cycle. And if we don't teach our sons today, that means that the little girls who are growing up today are not going to have good husbands, good fathers, and good friends to rely on. So we can't coddle our sons. We can cuddle with them, but we can't coddle them. So when we strengthen our boys and men, we stabilize our girls and women.
I love that. Beautiful, beautiful, very poetic, very true. And so if people have follow-up questions, if they're like, they want to connect you, they want to connect with you, they want to support you, they want to get the book, where do they go again to reach out with you?
You could reach me at, you can email me personally if you'd like to at hello@nijaahhoward.com. You can email me personally, or you could go to my website, www.nijaahhoward.com. That's NIJ2ASHOWARD.com.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you, Nijaah, so much for everything that you're doing. I think both it's really impactful and also meaningful for both men and women. And it's really, I find your platform that you're building so interesting because it's a different, it's like you're empowering men and through that empowering women too. So I like that approach that you're going with. And I wish you all the best. And I'm so grateful for you sharing your words of wisdom and your insight today.
Absolutely, Natasha. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, everyone, check her out, support